in this tutorial we're going to cover how to make buttons using Actionscript 3. Now, buttons are an interactive part of Flash which allow you to create hyperlinks between pages and set off key events in your animation. It's really important when applying buttons to be organized and to make sure you label different things, as this will be the first time we're actually using Actionscript coding language. So I'm going to start by creating a button. So my button's going to be really simple. So again, just going to pick a color. It's going to be a nice simple button that says start. I'm going to create the box. I'm going to create some text over the top. Now, some other tools that we haven't touched on yet is if I have two objects selected, or all these objects selected at once, if I go into a line and actually make them all align in the center, now you notice when I aligned it sent the text, and often the text disappears. That's not a problem. Once you click off, it will come back. So I'm going to call this like a button. Now, to create a button, I have to select the object, right click, and we're going to convert the symbol. But this time, instead of a movie clip or a graphic, we're going to create a button. We'll call this start BTN. Now you'll see the symbol down here. It looks like a finger clicking on a button. It'll now also, when I click on this, it selects the whole object at once. The next step after you create any button should be to automatically give it an instance name. The instance name is the name that is how the button will be referred to when we use the Actionscript code. Right, to keep your timeline nice and neat, next step is to create an actions layer. Now, depending on the version of Flash that you are using, sometimes it will automatically create an actions layer for you when you start applying Actionscript to different objects. So, to apply actions, first thing is I need to add the actions bar to my workspace. To do this, if I go Window and Actions, I can then drag it and apply it to here. The next one that we want to have open in this case is Window Code Snippets. So this is like the database for different instructions that you can apply to different objects within Flash. So actions are things like clicks and different things like timers and playing movie clips, etc. Timeline navigation is the one we're going to focus on. Within animation, a lot of this other stuff is used for games, and there are some options here for adding audio and video as well, which you might use later on. So, to apply an action to a button, the first thing I'm going to do is in the actions layer. Now, when I click on here, it will automatically tell me whatever layer I have selected, so the actions layer and the frame that I'm in. So to start with, I'm going to put a stop in. Now the stop makes the frame freeze so that the animation doesn't play through. If I don't have the stop there, at this rate, it just stays still because there's only one frame of animation. But if I was to have more, just insert a blank keyframe just to show you the difference. We'll play through this animation, and you can see that flicker. Is it looping where I've deleted that one frame, and then going back to the start. Now, because we've got a frame rate of 24 frames per second, one frame is a flash. So sometimes you won't realize that it's actually playing the next frame. Alright, actions layer. So click on actions and put a stop. This means that in frame 1, the animation will pause and stop here. You'll see once I've added actions that letter A appears. Right, to give instructions to the button, again, same thing, I'm going to click on the first frame or where I want the button to actually be active in. So if I don't want the button to be active in frame 1 and my animation goes for 50 frames, I might click in frame 50 and make the button action there. So click in frame 1, click on actions, and then I'm going to click on the button itself. Now if you don't have an instance name here, it'll just default call the button, maybe button 1, or if it's the second button, button 2, etc. I'm then going to go into code snippets and click on timeline navigation. Now this gives me a lot of different options. For this case, I'm going to make it click and go to scene and play. So that means it's going to go to a new scene and play that new scene from whatever frame I select. So I double click. Now in my time action square, you can now see it's added a heap of code. The grey code here doesn't actually do anything, it's just instructions from how to make this coding actually work. But if we look at the code itself, so you can see there's the name of the button. Now the event listener is telling the computer to listen for something to occur, which in this case is a mouse click. When that mouse click happens, it runs function 1, which is click go to scene. So function F1 click go to scene means that what will happen when this is clicked, it will go to and play, so it'll start the animation from frame 1 of scene 3. So at the moment that's fine. If I press Control Enter and let it load, I can click on it. Now you can see at the moment, because I don't have a scene 3, Flash is coming up with an error saying there's no scene 3 found, so it cannot continue to play, which is okay in what we'd expect at this stage. So what I'm going to do now is go down to scenes and create a new scene. So I've now got scene 2. Right, in this scene we're going to make something a bit different, so we're going to have an animation before it turns into a button. I'm going to call this button again. Now this time I want my button to be red. And what's going to happen to this button is that I'm going to create a motion tween with it, and by 25th frame, it'll be nice and big. And then I'm going to make, I only want it to turn a button though in the 25th frame, so what I'm going to do, so I'm now going to select the object and go up to where it says movie clip and change it to insert a new keyframe for all, and this keyframe I'm going to have text appear, so I might have to create a new layer. So I only want it to occur in this frame, so I press F6 to insert a keyframe. Stop. Better change the color of the text. So I now want in this frame, I'm going to turn this, so select both layers. Get my code snippets out of the way. You can see I'm inserting a blank keyframe. I'm going to drag my button back in the red object, so the symbol. Now this allows me to make the button only in this frame. If I continue doing what I was doing before, then it would have allowed the person to click anywhere along here, which I don't want to happen. So I'm going to turn on onion skin so I can realign my circle, so it looks like it's just continued. Alright, and now I've got stop in the center. What I'm going to do is select both these, making sure that I'm in that last frame. And I'm going to go create symbol. So button, stop, BTN. So now in my library you can see I've got a stop button, but the red symbol is still there. So if I play this animation at the moment, let's see what happens is I can click on the start button. Now because I haven't linked this to scene 2 yet, it won't go to scene 2. So I've got to go back into scene 1, click on the actions layer, go to actions, Now I can change here where it says scene 3, scene 2. If I now go back and press Control Enter, let's see what happens. So if I click Start, and then place the animation, but at the moment it doesn't stop because there's nothing telling it to stop, so it will just keep looping. So I need to go into this one, and now I'm going to create an actions layer. Actions, and insert a keyframe in the 25th frame. So click there, go to actions. So you can see now it says actions layer, 25th frame, stop. It automatically appears on the side, so it tells you there are now actions in 22nd scene, frame 25. I can also quickly click back to a previous scene to see what actions are there. Right, so now I've clicked in this scene, just going to press enter, and click on my button, and when this, so you can see that it says it requires an instance name, so I've got to go up and name my button. So see it created button 1, stop, BTN. Right, so now I'm clicking scene 2, click on my button, double click. Now I want this to link back to scene 1, I'm going to go to scene 1. I should now be able to click on start. If it plays, you can see it turns into a button in the last frame. So I'll just show you again. I can't click on it, and then it lets me click at the last moment. Once more, can't click, then I can click. That's really good. So say for your stories you want an animated action to happen, so maybe characters walking down a path, and you don't want the button to appear till the animation's finished. You make the whole animation, and then you turn the character into a button at the very end. But that often means rebuilding from your library, from your symbols. Right, the next option we have, so with any button we can add some specialization to it. So to add some other animations to it, just like a movie clip, if I double click on the button, it brings up a different type of timeline. So you'll see there's up, over, down, hit. So over is when your mouse rolls over the object, down is when the person actually clicks down, and hit is more to do with games, etc., when two objects collide together. So we won't worry about that for the time being. So if I press insert a keyframe, so what I'm going to do now is change the color of the background to yellow, so that when they roll over this button, it turns yellow. So I'll just quickly show you. Quite simple. Now I'm just going to insert another keyframe. This time I'm going to make it so that when they click on it, it goes blue. So again, Control Enter to debug. So you can see it's green when my mouse is in it. The minute the mouse enters it, it turns yellow. When I click down, it turns blue. I can also do things like a short animation. So I'll go to my scene 2 button this time, double click on that. So this time, when they roll over, I can completely delete the button and have something different altogether. I'll add some text. Sure. So now when I play, you can see the animations in the first button. You can see when I hover over it, it makes the "Are you sure?" So that's basics. Now if I wanted a button to play from a certain frame in a timeline, I'll show you this in this example. So on this button at the moment, in my actions, when I click it, it takes me to frame 1 of scene 2. I can make it though take me to a different frame. So if I go into actions and see where it says scene 2, I might change that to, we'll make it go straight to the button, which is in frame 25. So if I click on this one and go 25, what this will now do is, the minute I click it, it takes me straight to my button. So this means you can have different events happening within your one timeline as well. You don't have to make buttons in a new frame or in a new scene all the time. This is just an introduction to buttons. Obviously there's lots more features you can add, but this should get you started.